Hey folks, welcome to the channel. I've actually spotted a drip underneath the middle of the GTR. After doing some investigation and research, what I think I actually have is a leak coming from the shifter area, where there's a little bit of the shifter actually comes down through into the transfer case. And what I think is happening is when you're driving, the transfer case kind of kicks up a bunch of the fluid and it goes up out of the top and then down the side and then drips. Because what I look at on there, it doesn't look like it's leaking anywhere from where the transfer case is. So I'm thinking it's up top somewhere and coming down. So I have a new boot for the shifter area that I'm going to be putting in. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So I keep a little piece of cardboard down here, and I noticed that drop. Looks like it's coming directly under where the shifter area is, and the rest of the cardboard is actually nice and clean. So we're going to start there and see what that gets us. Alright, so here's the piece. It's actually made by GK Tech. So it's this little rubber boot that basically slips down over top of the case, and it has a little bit of a lip on it here, if you can see that very well. But that little lip is supposed to keep the oil from being slung around too much and coming out over the top. Yeah, so anyway, you get to it from, basically you take this, so basically you come down in here and we need to take this off and get down into it from there. So start taking things apart and see what happens. Alright, we're going to start by removing the shift knob here, put it off to the side, and then we're going to pull up on this. This just is held in by a couple of clips. And we can just pull that up and out. Then there should be some screws. A couple of them have grounds on them, so make sure that you put the grounds back on when you put this thing all back together. We'll just pull those 4 off, and then we'll be able to take this whole thing up. Alright, now I got all the bolts out. I'm just kind of pulling the sleeve off here. It's kind of hard to do it one-handed, but that you can definitely see has been leaking because there's oil all over it. So that is what we're going to replace, and I'm going to get her a couple of rags to clean that up, and we'll put a new one on top. You can actually see some of the oil. I don't know if you can see that out here in the sun, but you can actually see it's pretty greasy, so I'm going to clean this up here. Alright, if you can see down in here, there's a little looks like a cable tie is on this, so I'm going to actually clip that, and then I'll be able to take this thing out and then we'll replace it in there. Hopefully I can do this one-handed. Alright, out that goes. Alright, so now I should be able to lift this thing up. Oh yeah, it's cracked. You can see it right there, that this thing is cracked all the way around, right underneath. That this thing is ripped completely. Right there you can see the metal on the bottom of the shifter. Alright, good. So now we just got to get this thing off of there and we'll get the new one on. Oh yeah, it's messy. Alright, I think I'm just going to cut this off, since it's already trash anyway. Just try not to cut myself, which would be nice to not cut myself. Yeah. Now right down in here is a C-clip. If you can see the little tabs of it right here, the 2 tabs, that little C-clip, you pinch together and you should actually be able to pull this thing right out of here. So we're going to do that next. Alright, I finally got this C-clip loose. That was a freaking huge struggle. Now I got that off. Once the C-clip comes out, I think that the shifter should literally just lift right up out of there, like this.
And it does. Good. Alright, so now I'm going to cut the rest of this piece of rubber off of there. This is an aluminum short shifter. It was on the car when I got it. I don't see any markings, so I don't know what brand it is, who manufactured it. Yeah, I don't know. If you guys recognize this, put down in the comments what kind of short shifter you think it is, because I can't tell. But anyway, we're going to cut the rest of this piece off and put the new boot on. Yeah, let me show you the boot here real quick. Obviously I cut it off, but if you can see down here, this is actually where it was torn before I cut it. It was actually torn right here. You see the dry rot. If you see that cracking, but that was basically all dry rotted here, and the fluid was leaking out, and it was completely torn here before I cut it. You can actually see this is where it was torn. This is where I cut it right here. You can see the clean cuts, but this part was torn. So anyway, put the new boot on. Alright, so this is the new boot. You can actually see on here it has a little arrow with an F pointing to the front, so make sure you put it facing that direction, towards the front of the car. And then I got a little cable tie on here to kind of get it started, and we're gonna put this thing on, this new one, and then slap it all back in there. Be ready to go. You know what, I'm not sure if it's easier to go down over the top of it or if it's better to go up from the bottom. I'm gonna be really freaking irritated if it's easier to go over the top of it and I didn't need to do all this. You know what, I'm stupid. That was easy. Alright, well, spray some silicone on it, slide it right over the top. You don't even have to take this thing out of the car. Should have just done it that way. Well, I guess live and learn. Learn from my mistake. Alright, let's go put this thing back in then. Fold this up out of the way. I'm a dunce. You do not need to do it. You do not need to take the shifter all the way out like I did. That was pretty dumb. What are you gonna do? Alright, so now that I got this thing back out, I got this thing folded up out of the way like that. Put the C-clip back in now. Alright, the C-clip is back in now. And then fold this down. There's a little channel right here. Just make sure you stick this piece right into the channel. So that way none of the transfer case fluid gets up in here. Make sure that that forward arrow is pointing to the front of the car. Right, that is down on top of that. That rubber bit is in the channel there. Alright, perfect. Alright, then grab your cable tie, put it down over the top. And cinch that down. Make sure it's in the right spot. There you go. Good, now that should not leak anymore. Alright, now we're going to put this thing back down on top. Slide this thing over. Put her down in. Keep everything from splashing around and making a mess. I'll put these other bolts back down in here and secure this thing all down and we'll be done. Alright, now everything is tightened back down. This bolt is back in with the ground, and then this bolt is back in with the two grounds. Everything is now in place. Alright, put the boot back on. Tuck the back in first, tuck the front down, and the shift knob can go back on. There it is, everything's all back together. By the way, this underhood light, you can actually strap it up to the edge of the A-pillars. That's how I was able to use that light in here. I'll put a link in the corner up here. This thing's great. I use it for everything. Alright, so hopefully that should take care of everything. I'm expecting that fix will actually keep the transfer case fluid inside and that it won't be splashing around and then actually coming down
and leaving a little drip underneath of my car. I'm actually going to change out that cardboard and put a new piece down there, and we'll give it a test and see if that actually fixes the problem. Hopefully it does. I'm actually taking the GTR to Cars and Coffee tomorrow. I'm going to take my two sons with me too. Should be fun. It's the first time they'll be in the car in a long time. So anyway, if you've got this leak underneath of your car, give this a shot, see if that fixes your leak. Hopefully this video was helpful for you. I'll see you in the next one.